Excellent. Okay, so chicken fur, so our recipe says the cook time's about 30 minutes. I think that's really the whole thing. It's not a long recipe to make. All right, so our ingredients are, you will need some rice noodles. Doesn't really matter what kind of noodles you have. Traditionally, it's the wide, flat noodles, the rice noodles, but you can use any kind of noodles that you've got at home. You need some warm water for soaking. You need some peppercorns. You need some coriander seed. Now, if you don't have the seeds, that's okay. We can do it. We can cook the recipe without the seeds. You'll need some star anise. Star anise are these little things. I think the star anise are these little black. They smell incredible. You need 4. If you've got them, have a little smell of them. They smell fantastic. They're going to give a really nice fragrance to our soup. You need some fresh ginger. Yeah, there's some ginger gone. Had it a minute ago. We'll find it. Some fresh ginger. Some fresh, some shallots. You can see I've got my shallots here. You need some hot water. You need some chicken stock. You'll need some fresh chicken breast, or if you're not using chicken breast and you're using tofu or jackfruit, you can do that instead, and some fish sauce. Great. Excellent. Now for serving, you'll need some limes or lemon, some jalapeno chilies if you use chilies, some bean sprouts, some basil, some fresh coriander, some chili sauce, some hoisin sauce. Now, they're all extras. You don't have to have any of those. I'll often put the coriander in, but if you want to leave any of those things that you don't normally have, you can make this chicken fur without. So they're just extra things. Elke's showing me the star anise. Yep, they smell good, hey? I know, I love them. They're not something that we regularly use in our cooking, that I don't regularly use, but great flavours. Yep, fantastic. Yep, Ellie, you like that as well. Now, in terms of our equipment, this is what we're going to need. You need a chopping board and a knife. Now, if you are going to chop up your, if you're going to slice up your chicken, you will need a nice big straight knife. So we can't use serrated knives. You can see that I've got my little serrated vegetable knife. We can't use serrated knife on meat because it will tear the flesh. We want nice, smooth chicken. And I suggest that you get an adult or an older sibling to slice up your meat rather than you do it. So just to keep nice and safe. I'll come back to that in a little minute. Okay, you will need a heat-proof bowl. I've just got a metal bowl, but you'll need this for your noodles. You'll need a colander or a sieve. I've got the colander there. You'll need a fry pan or a big, this is what I'm going to use. I've just got a saucepan that I can use as a fry pan. You'll need a wooden spoon and some tongs. Wooden spoon and some tongs. That's amazing. You can see that anyway. That out of the way. Fantastic. All right, who's ready to start? Excellent. Now, I love how Ella, Ella, you are using your all these emojis, which are really cute. Great. All right, let's get started. Let me remove my face so you guys can see what I am doing. Excellent. All right. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to fill your kettle up. Fill up your kettle with some nice water, and bring that to the boil. If you haven't done that already, you're going to need a nice you need some nice warm water or some boiling water in order to soak your noodles. Now, depending on the type of noodles that you're using, so I'm just using some vermicelli because I have loads of them. What I want you to do is I want you to have a look at the back of your packet. So every noodle is different. Sometimes you'll have to boil the noodles. Sometimes it's okay just to put them in some boiling water for a short period of time. So my noodles say, place the vermicelli or the noodles and pour enough boiling water to cover it, soak for 2 minutes, and then drain. So I want everybody to look at the packet that you've got. So I know for me, I've already boiled my kettle. So I'm going to add my noodles to the bowl, and I'm going to pour the boiling water on top. Now, it is boiling water, so you'll need to be careful. So if you need help with pouring the boiling water, ask someone more responsible to do that. So for me, I only need it for a short period of time. So read the back of the instructions and do what it needs to be done. So I'm just going to leave mine in front there so that will be ready to go. If I leave them too long, what will happen is that they'll go all soggy and yuck. So we don't need them. My ones, I only need them for 2 minutes. Excellent. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to measure out our spices. So I've got my 4 little star anise. Got my 4 little star anise. And then I'm going to measure out 1 tablespoon of black peppercorns. 1 tablespoon of black peppercorns. Pop them just in. I'm putting them in a little bowl just because we're going to cook them together. So 4 star anise, and then 1 tablespoon of coriander and 1 tablespoon of peppercorn. So we've got our 4 star anise, a tablespoon of peppercorns, and then a tablespoon of coriander seeds. If you don't have the seeds, just use coriander powder instead. Oops, it hasn't got coriander seeds over there. So I'm just measuring. I'm measuring my seeds. Right. Then we're going to move on to our ginger. So if you've got fresh ginger whole, so that's a whole piece of ginger, but you might also just have ground ginger, as in minced ginger out of the jar. So if you've got minced ginger, then we'll just leave that at the side ready to go. But if you're using fresh ginger, the recipe says about 5 centimetres. So that's about 5 centimetres of fresh ginger. And you don't have to peel it for this recipe. You don't have to peel it. I'm just going to slice it up. If you've never seen fresh ginger before, have a smell of it. It smells amazing. So I've got my ginger here, my coriander seeds, my star anise, and my peppercorns in this little bowl here. And then we're going to use some of our shallots or spring onions. So I'm only going to use about, it says to use a bunch, but I don't think you need that much. So I'm going to chop my spring onions. So I've got 3 sort of, these are quite big and they're like my finger size. So if you've got really thin ones, maybe use about 5, but these ones are quite thick. So I'm just going to chop off the ends or the root part. And then what I do is we're going to chop them up into quite thin slices or pieces. We're going to fry these guys. So what we're doing here is we're prepping everything beforehand, so we just concentrate on one job at a time. So there's my shallots there. If you've got a whole or a couple of pieces of chicken breast fillet, what we want to do is we want to make it nice and thin. So I do suggest that you get someone to help you do this, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hand on top, and I don't suggest that you guys do this unless you're extremely experienced. And I'm just going to cut it in half so that we've got nice thin pieces. And that's going to mean that our chicken is going to cook really quickly. Step 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to toast our peppercorns and our spices. And the reason we do this is we want to activate the flavour. So I'm going to get my wooden spoon, and this is going to happen quite quickly. So I'm going to start my saucepan on a medium heat. And I'm not using any oil at the moment. All right then. Now, I've got my saucepan here. And I did say no oil, but we do need a little bit of oil. Sorry. I'm going to use a tablespoon of oil. And I'm going to put 1 seed into the oil. And as soon as that starts bubbling or simmering and spattering, then I know I can add the others. That means my oil is got nice and hot. Right. So I'm adding everything now. And I'm just going to move everything around it just to cover it with the oil. So we're only going to cook our spices for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Oh, yeah, now I can smell. As soon as you can start to smell, and I just got a peppercorn jumped out, I'm going to add my ginger and shallots. Beautiful. I'm going to cook for 2 minutes. And then after 2 minutes, we're going to add our chicken stock. Oh, yum, smells incredible. So we've got our chicken stock and then hot water, and you should have hot water left over from the kettle. I'm going to bring this to the boil, but the next thing we're going to add is our chicken. I'm going to add my chicken. Right, and straight away I'm going to rinse the bowl that my chicken was in. So while I'm waiting, I'm going to chop up the tops of my shallots, get rid of any daggy bits. So really nice and slowly, I'm chopping up the tops of my shallot because the bottoms of the shallot is in the soup. If you want to, you can cover your saucepan. Let's put a saucepan lid on the top of mine. This is that will bring it to the boil a whole lot quicker. Now, the aim of what we're doing here in the pot is just cooking the chicken through. We don't want to overcook it, because if we overcook it, it ends up being hard, and we want nice, tender chicken. So I've got my shallots here. I've got my coriander here. I've got my noodles here. And I've got a lime. This lime is crazy big. Oh, it smells amazing. I'm turning my soup down a bit because it's starting to go a little bit too fast. I want a nice, tender chicken. I don't want it to be too, I don't want tough chicken. Nobody likes tough chicken. Now I'm going to measure out my fish sauce. So the fish sauce, it says 1/4 cup. And this is going to bring some saltiness into the soup. Now I'm going to check this chicken out. I'm looking at my chicken and I'm pretty sure this is going to be ready. But what I want to do is I want to check that the chicken is cooked. So I'm using a pair of tongs. And I'm going to put it onto my board. And I'm going to slice through the thickest part of the chicken. Okay, so I thought it was cooked, but now that I've checked, it does definitely need a couple more minutes. So I'm glad I did check there. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. So I've tested my chicken. I'm just going to put that into a little bowl for the moment and just let that rest for a few minutes. I'm going to take my slotted spoon and I'm going to start picking up all of the spices. If you want to, another easy way to do it is to strain the saucepan over a colander and into a nice big bowl. It does require, you'll just need some help to do that because remember your saucepan is really hot. So don't try to do that on your own. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to do is slice up my chicken. I've let that rest for a few minutes. So I'm going to slice it up. The recipe says shred it. If you want to shred it, you can. Shredding is when you just pull it apart. I'm just going to slice mine. So I've washed my knife. I'm using it on the raw chicken. And I'm just going to slice up my chicken. Slicing it up. And I'm popping it back into that bowl. We don't want our chicken to get too soggy. Beautiful. And when you've sliced up your chicken, you can add your fish sauce to your soup. Add the fish sauce to the soup. So at this point, you can leave it and have it for dinner if you want to. All you'll need to do is bring the soup back up to the boil, blanch your chicken so it's a little bit hotter, and you can do that for dinner. So I'm just going to show you what to do. If you want to add any vegetables, I've got some, it's not bok choy, but something similar. I've just found a tiny snail. Yeah. If you want to blanch some vegetables into your soup, you can do that for like a minute to heat them up. This is what I'm going to do. Now, your noodles might need, you might need to run them under some cold water and re-strain them, like pour them through the colander again if they start to get sticky. So depending on what you want to do and depending on what kind of noodles you've got. So I'm putting my noodles into the bottom of the bowl. I'm just going to show you how to serve up. It is 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so if you want to leave this for dinner, I'm just going to show you what to do. They're a little bit tricky, as you can see. Perfect. All right, so I've got my noodles in the bottom of the bowl. Then I'm going to add some slices of chicken. You can lay them so that they all run it the same way. And the other thing you can do is do it like a little, what would you call it, like a fur bar, so that everybody chooses what they want to have. All right, so you can use a ladle, or I'm just using my cup measure. I'm going to pour the soup as much or as little as you want, just enough to cover it. You don't want it swimming. I'm going to add some shallots. I've got some fresh coriander here. If you've got some bean sprouts, you can add some bean sprouts. I'm going to put my the lime. Sorry. The chili. Yep. Get into that. Yep. Slice up your chili. Now, I would only put chili on top, but that's going to depend on your family. So if you are chili eaters, slice up your chili and put a little bit just on top. If you've got bird's eye chili, then that beautiful red is going to make it look so delicious on top.